collection of manuscripts and letters. Yet it was nearly a century before the Dracula typescript was found in a Pennsylvania barn amongst the Donaldson family possessions. The typescript changed hands a few times, and then, in 2002, after being offered with great fanfare by Christie's, failed to meet the reserve bid and was subsequently bought by Paul Allen. On July 7, 1913, 15 months after Bram Stoker's death, Sotheby's sale of his personal library included a book written by Colonel Donaldson and inscribed in 1898 by his son Thomas Blaine Donaldson to Bram, as a remembrance. At the same Sotheby's auction, James Drake, a New York book dealer, purchased lot number 182, 124 pages, original notes and data for his Dracula, for the price of £2. The notes surfaced again in 1946, pictured in a Life magazine article about rare manuscripts, having been purchased for Scribner's collection for $500. Then, in 1970, they were bought by the Rosenbach Museum in Philadelphia from an antiquarian bookseller, Charles Sessler. It was not until the mid-1970s that, thanks to Raymond McNally and Radu Florescu, two Boston College professors, attention shifted to Bram's preparatory work for Dracula. While researching a famous pamphlet, Dracula Vida, Nuremberg, circa 1488, which included a woodcut of Vlad Dracula III, McNally and Florescu visited the Rosenbach Museum in Philadelphia. To their great surprise, the archivist suggested they might also be interested in Bram Stoker's research notes for Dracula, which had been purchased by the museum a few years before, and were still in the archives in relative obscurity. Thus, they gained new insight into Bram's research and writing process, which they referenced in their book The Essential Dracula, 1979. However, in another of their works, In Search of Dracula, 1972, they drew a close connection between Bram's Count Dracula and the Wallachian leader Prince Vlad Dracula, essentially transforming Vlad Dracula III into a vampire, much to the dismay of historians and the Romanian people. Other scholars followed McNally and Florescu, and to this day, a pilgrimage to the Rosenbach provides a unique and important opportunity to form conclusions based on Bram's source notes. Alternatively, those who are interested can consult the excellent annotated facsimile edition created by scholars Dr. Elizabeth Miller and Robert 18 Besang in 2008. Unfortunately, apart from the typescript and the notes, Bram left us very little first-hand information about Dracula. In the void, a private family joke relayed by Noel Stoker, Bram's only son, to Harry Ludlam, author of A Biography of Dracula, The Life Story of Bram Stoker, 1962, and My Quest for Bram Stoker, 2000, has been quoted over and over as the gospel truth. Flippantly, Bram attributed the genesis of Dracula to a nightmare he had after a surfeit of dressed crab at supper one night. To date, only one interview given by Bram on the subject of Dracula has been found. Written by Jane Stoddard of the British Weekly, it appeared within 5 weeks of the novel's publication and spans a mere 896 words. Additionally, there is only one known letter in which Bram discusses Dracula, addressed to former British Prime Minister William Gladstone in 1897. It reveals precious little about Stoker's personal thoughts on his work, except that he hoped it would cleanse the mind by pity and terror. Other than the small reservoir of canonical texts, the Donaldson typescript, the Rosenbach notes, the crab joke, the Stoddard interview, and the letter to Gladstone, we have only the opinions of others to explain the possible inspirations and motivations behind Bram's writing. The rediscovery of Makt Myrkranna provides us with new information and new riddles. Unfortunately, we may never know the full details of Bram Stoker's arrangements, if there were any at all, with Valdimar Ásmundsson, who transcribed the story to Icelandic from Swedish and published it in his newspaper, followed by a book edition about 6 months later. Bram's 1897 agreement with Archibald Constable, the publisher of Dracula.